it's Jeff with YourLearningCareer.com. If you are considering a career in instructional design or e-learning development, you might be wondering if it's going to be a good fit for you. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the pros and cons of each that I've experienced throughout my career in learning and development. Before we even have a class, before the class even gets scheduled, somebody has to create the class, okay? So who is that? Well, the person that creates the class typically is an instructional designer. So if you are a creative type, but you don't necessarily want to be in front of the group facilitating, then this can be a really great position. Maybe you're more of an introvert, but you really like to create. So that's what an instructional designer does. They are the ones who, you come up with the ideas for the class, like what are we going to cover, what are the learning objectives. You're the one who creates the PowerPoint presentation, the training outline, the any job aids, handouts, all of that stuff. That's the instructional designer. So what are some pluses to being an instructional designer? Well, the most obvious one, the biggest one in my mind, is the creativity. If you are someone who likes to create, there's so much opportunity. So the creativity and then the variety, because you're doing so many, when you're an instructional designer, you're doing so many different things. So you're learning about graphic design, you're learning different software programs, you get to work, sometimes you might be developing a classroom class, other days you might be developing for a webinar, you might even be doing videos, like if you're doing learning videos, you might be working in video editing software. So there's all kinds of really cool stuff that you get to do as an instructional designer. So that variety, that creativity, those are two, I would say, the really big pluses. Also the flexibility, because more and more with instructional design, I see a lot of opportunities now where you get to work from home. And I know I work from home and I love it. That was one of the things for me moving into full-time instructional design. That was very appealing to me, that flexibility of being able to work from home, which I'm seeing more and more of. So again, it's something, it depends on the job, but that's another plus, because as a trainer, I may or may not have that much flexibility because I got to be in the classroom. But as an instructional designer, I can do basically any of my responsibilities I can do from home. Like I don't have to be in a training room to do that. So that's something that's pretty cool there. Now, as far as some cons, some downsides to instructional design, typically you are not the one who decides on which types of projects you work on. So the reason I say that's a con, because you don't always, you don't really necessarily have the control or say on what you work on. So you will get projects that are maybe not really exciting to you. You might get hey, we need you to design a class on this boring government compliance issue, whatever, and you're like, oh, thanks. Now, I would also look at that as a challenge. Like if I get an assignment like that, then I try to do whatever I can to make that interesting and fun for my learners. But initially, a lot of times you'll get an assignment for a project, and you just kind of look at it. You're like, I don't want to do that. So that's just something something to keep in mind. You're not always going to be working on something that you're crazy about and excited about. The other thing is, when you're an instructional designer, typically you are not the expert on whatever it is you're developing for. You might be, you might occasionally get something that you know a lot about, but usually, you're going to get something that maybe it's like a company product, or maybe it's a sales or a call center training, but it's not something that you directly do. So you've got to work with a lot of subject matter experts. Now that can also be a plus, because one of the things I like about working with the subject matter experts is I learn a lot. I learn a lot about the company. I learn a lot about different things. So that's really cool. But as far as a negative side, sometimes that it can be frustrating when you are relying on an expert for information and they are taking a long time to get you that information. So that, you know, that's part of the job. That can be rough sometimes. And then I think another maybe sort of downside with instructional design is I think a lot of companies don't really understand what truly an instructional designer is and what they do. And so it's kind of crazy when you look at some of these job descriptions. It's like everything but the kitchen sink thrown in. Like when you look at all the things they want you to do as an instructional designer, it's like, holy cow, like how can one person do all of this? And so I think sometimes the expectations are a little crazy about, you know, what all an instructional designer does. It's like, we want you to design the instruction, but then we also want you to be an expert graphic designer, and you must be an expert video editor, and you must be a voiceover artist, on and on and on. And so I think that can be a little intimidating for a lot of people, especially if you're brand new and you're just starting to get into it. So, but again, you know, that's not all jobs, you know, so just when you are looking at the job descriptions, just really pay attention to what they're asking and what you truly feel you can do, and what you're willing to learn how to do. And then another job role I want to talk about is e-learning developer or e-learning designer, because more and more there are a lot of jobs that are really focused on that the e-learning aspect. Now, I find in my experience, I have done e-learning typically as part of an overall instructional design responsibility. So there is a lot of that. So if you want to do e-learning and other types of instruction, there are a lot of jobs where you get to do both. But if you're someone who's really into the technology and you really want to focus on the e-learning, hey, that's great. There are job roles that focus on that. So where you can strictly focus on e-learning and e-learning design. And so the plus side to that is that you're typically on the cutting edge. You know, you're getting to work with technology, and you usually get to work with a lot of different multimedia, because within the e-learning, you're adding audio and video, and so you're working with graphics. So there's a lot of really cool stuff you get to do when you're focused on the e-learning. I guess I would say, as far as a downside to e-learning development, e-learning design, technology, of course, can be a bear to work with. And so a lot of times it's like you end up being the help desk because nobody else knows, why doesn't this class work? People are coming at you because there's some weird glitch. And so you do sometimes you'll spend time like feeling like you're the help desk because everybody's coming to you for all this technical stuff. But, of course you help as best you can. So there's that. And again, just like with instructional design, you may or may not have, you probably won't have a say in the exact type of project you work on. So you're kind of at the mercy of, your boss, if you work for a company, or a client, if you're doing freelance. So those are just some things to keep in mind. If you'd like more information on an instructional design career or e-learning development career, be sure to check out my website, as well as the links that I will provide in the description below. Also, make sure to check out my other career-related videos here on this channel. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have any other types of videos you'd like to see here, and make sure to subscribe. Thanks. We'll see you next time.